I guess the question that you've been dying to answer for so long. When you saw me all those years ago, what was it that made you think, I need to marry that man?
I'm not sure that was my first thought.
No.
What would you like me to say?
He's waited until just now to ask.
I waited 25
It's like
years.
you deliberately timed that for this moment.
And for those of you that don't know, you guys have 8 children.
Yeah.
None of them were accidental, though. I always have to follow that up with, although we didn't plan to have 8, they were all planned. I think when you get to child number 3, you just go off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is overwhelming because you no longer have a parent each to hold each child's hand.
You're outnumbered.
And all of a sudden you're outnumbered. Yeah. And I think once you get to 3, anything after 3 doesn't make such a big difference.
Just go for 8.
It is. I heard this a long time ago and I try to live by this. It's say yes to your children as often as you can.
Aww.
Say yes. Because then when you say no, they really understand why you're saying no.
Well, what are some things that you've found as a mum that has helped prepare the kids for adulthood and nurtured a healthy space to grow up in? Another episode of the Longevity Lounge. My name is Ben.
And I'm Caylee.
And it's our pleasure to be your host. Today, we're talking about community, but specifically the role of family in the community. And we're going to get a little bit personal today.
Yeah, we have Kim on, Ben's beautiful, smart, crazy busy wife.
Yeah.
She joins us today on the pod.
Yeah, and we've been married for 25 years. We've got 8 kids together. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what family life looks like for us, but some of the lessons that we've learned, right? In terms of prioritization, managing busy schedules, that type of thing.
Yeah, and as if she doesn't have enough going on, she talks a little bit about her DIY channel, Mama Can Build It, and talks to us about our projects and kind of why she started that. So this is a great conversation.
Yeah, so jump in. Oh, by the way,
we forgot to tell you,
please be sure to like and follow.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please.
Thank you
so much.
So much of what we've been talking about on the topic of longevity, a running theme, of course, is community.
Yeah.
So I want to share a couple of interesting statistics here in the relevance of community for longevity. So these are kind of scary. Social isolation can increase the risk of premature death by 29%.
Yikes.
Yeah. And loneliness can increase it by up to 26%. Living alone has been associated with a 32% higher risk of death. That's crazy. It also has an impact on our physical health, including lower risks of hypertension, or when we have social connection, lower risks of hypertension and inflammation, improved immune function and cardiovascular health, and lower rates of chronic conditions. So, and it also, of course, helps with stress, which I think is probably an easy one to go, that does help. Also, I find this interesting. Strong social ties offer mental health benefits, such as, of course, emotional support, stress management, and potentially lower risks of anxiety and depression. And social interactions can help contribute to feelings of happiness and well-being. We know that bit. But I thought that was interesting, just to give context here, when we talk about longevity and community, just how directly it impacts not just our happiness and well-being, our physical health, and the longevity, the actual lifespan that we enjoy.
Yeah.
So in that context, I think at the heart of everyone's community is family, and that can dress up in a multitude of different ways, shapes, and forms.
Absolutely.
So that being said, we've got Kim on today, my beautiful wife, and we're going to be talking to you on family and being a mum and what that means, what have you. So I'll start with one big question just to kind of kick this off, because we'll get this out the way. It's probably an important question that you're wanting to answer. So the question is, Kim, 25 years ago, we met.
Yes.
Or 27 years ago, 25 years ago, we got married.
Yes.
So I guess the question that you've been dying to answer for so long, when you saw me all those years ago, what was it that made you think, I need to marry that man?
Well, I'm not sure that was my
Is that a good
first
question to
thought.
ask?
I'm not sure that was my first thought.
Yeah. No.
What would you like me to say?
He's waited until just now to ask.
I waited 25
It's like
years.
you deliberately timed that for this moment.
Yeah.
Where we have an audience and I have to say something really nice.
That's, I was hoping for that. I've got my notes. I'm going to hang on. Let me just go ahead.
The checklist.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Start recording this. We have this on record.
If you need some prompts, I've got some suggestions here that might be able to help
I have my own prompts and suggestions. I don't think I need. No. I think, 27 years ago, yeah. I mean, it seems like both forever ago, but also very short time ago. I mean, I can't believe it's been that long. I think when we first introduced, we were both kind of in a place where we couldn't be together at that moment. I had a boyfriend and you were just too old at that time. I think we were just, but I think over time we just really developed a strong friendship and it just went from there and it's no looking back from that point on.
Yeah. Her boyfriend, I might add, was 6'4".
Oh,
Yes,
tall
he was.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. And then there was this little foreigner that came on. And they're like, who's this guy?
You had such a good personality, Ben.
Yeah. Winner over. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
This is a lesson in persistence is what it was.
So you guys met 27 years ago. You've been married for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, you guys have 8 children.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would never have, we didn't plan to have that many children.
Yeah.
That's such a big family. None of them were accidental though. I always have to follow that up with, although we didn't plan to have they were all planned. We just got married. And I think at the time we were thinking, yeah, we'll have children at some point. And then we had one and it was a wonderful experience. And then we just kept going. And it has been an incredible, full, hard and exciting journey having all of these kids. But yeah, we have never been bored, that's for sure. We've always been very busy.
I have looked back. There was a flawed argument that Kim had when we would discuss having another child that worked all the time.
Every time.
And I look back now and I'm like, what a flawed argument. Right? Because
can't
we have
wait to
this
hear what it
beautiful
is.
little baby, or maybe they're 2 years old. They're cute and blonde hair and big blue eyes, as all of our kids had, right? Or most of the couple of brown eyes in there. But they do something cute and adorable, which all kids do. Right? And she'd go, oh, Ben, seriously, how could you not have another? Right? Can you imagine if they weren't in our lives right now? We would feel that.
What a hole, what a loss.
That's so sweet.
How could you not have another? I'd be like, well, that kind of, does make sense. What would life be like without this one? So I guess, I don't know how I felt, but every single time, I'm like, at some point that's got to stop, right? At 8, it's like, I can't keep running.
But I think the love, it just kept growing and their relationships with each other just grew and their development grew as they interacted with one another and interacted with us. I think we grew as people, they did too. And I mean, I love big families. Any size family is great, For us, I guess we just really loved that environment where all your passions as a parent, I just love the fact that everything that I felt was so important was put into being a mother, and it really fulfilled me in every way.
That's so sweet. Was there ever a point where you felt like what child did you think, wow, our family's getting really big, or did you never feel that?
I think when you get to child number 3, you just go off a cliff. And it's like, this is overwhelming because you no longer have a parent each to hold each child's hand.
You're outnumbered.
And all of a sudden you're outnumbered. Yeah. And I think once you get to 3, anything after 3 doesn't make such a big difference.
Just go for 8.
It is. No, I say that to people. I mean, having one child is hard work.
Yeah.
Having 2 children is hard work. When you have 3, the dynamic changes because you are outnumbered. But I think after that, it's all just busy. And I don't think it changes that much from 3 to 8.
That's so
in my
crazy.
experience.
You guys handle it so well because I mean, for the audience that hasn't been to Ben and Kim's house, you walk in and for whatever reason, before you go in the door, you think it's going to be so chaotic. And you just not knowing what it's like to be in a family of 8 kids, you walk in and you think it's going to be so chaotic, and it's not. It's so organized, and I don't know if you guys feel that way, but from an outsider's perspective, it feels like you guys have been doing it for so long, and you have it down to such a science that it feels so organized when you walk in.
Yeah, that's pretense. I'm kidding.
No, it all hits the fan when I leave.
Yeah, before there's a knock at the door, we prep all the kids. Quiet.
Don't
Get out. Go over there. Don't do anything. No,
I think that is one thing when you do choose to have a big family, you have to live on schedules and order. And I'm not sure if Ben notices this so much. Maybe when I go away, you notice a loss of the order and the structure.
Take a guess who controls the schedule.
Because
Clearly not this guy.
The structure is really important. Even in like the summer break, we try not to have much structure, but there still needs to be some form of structure. Otherwise, it would just be complete madness. And I'm all about, as a mother, want my kids to have freedom. I heard this a long time ago, and I try to live by this. It's say yes to your children as often as you can. Aww. Say yes, because then when you say no, they really understand why you're saying no. And so I am that parent where my kids will say, it'll be like 9 p.m. and they'll say, can we really go watch this movie at the movies? And I'll be like, yeah, it's the summer holidays, let's go do it. You're getting back at midnight. And I always try to do things that way. I'll say yes as often as we can, so that when we say no, they don't question it. They go, okay, it's a no because it means something. It means something, it's important. So I try that as much as it's more exhausting for us as parents to do it that way. I feel like they appreciate more the fact that we let them do things that might be out of the box.
No is often a go-to for parents because of convenience. Yeah, it's an inconvenient thing that you might be asked, but it might be totally fine. So. And
if it's important to them, if you really take the time to listen to those little things that kids talk about, Bluey, the show, their favorite game, that to you really doesn't mean anything. But when they feel like you're listening to them and really taking an interest in what they're interested in, and saying yes to something that is really not that important to you, and it might be a really inconvenient time, that goes a long way with kids. Because if they know that you'll listen to all the little things when they're little kids, then when they're adults, the really big, or teenagers, the big important things, they will keep talking to you about it because they know that you care and you listen. You can't, I think, say to your kids no all the time when they're young and not really take interest in those little insignificant things that we might feel like, and then suddenly when they're teens and they're having these big struggles, say, hey, open up to me. It's like, well, you've never really cared about before, so you really need to build and establish that when they're young.
That makes sense. You kind of grow as their world grows, because when they're so tiny, their world's also so tiny. They just don't know that there's this big, there's things out there that are more important than Bluey or, the plastic fish. You've used the plastic fish. So I love that. That's great advice.
We had one of our children, our oldest child actually, obsessed when he was about 8 years old with werewolves. Obsessed with werewolves. And I remember him asking me, I really want to be a werewolf. Can I get a werewolf costume? And I looked everywhere and I was like, no, they like stop at like 5, He's like 9, going on 9 and 10. He wanted a werewolf costume. And I remember making this, I don't sew very well at all, but I got some material and I put together this, what I thought looked like is the worst werewolf costume you'd ever met. I think it was made of tiger skin, but in his mind, he was like, okay, it's a werewolf. And he wore that so much and so often and got so much joy out of it. It was tearing at the seams because I don't sew very well. But I just wanted him to understand that this is really important to you, how, to me, I'm like, well, you're not a werewolf. You never will be. But, for him, it was like really important that I understood how important it was to him. So by doing little things like that and just letting him live that and I made it as real as possible with his little werewolf costume. It wasn't long that he wore it, and then he, moved on to something else. But it was like, no, this is really important to him, and I want him to understand. I understand that that's important.
We had another son that was really into werewolves. There's a bit of a theme. I don't know why.
I know.
Do you guys watch a lot of werewolf movies when they were young? Or?
No. But we did have another one not that long ago. He's 12 now, but this was when he was about 9 or so, similar age. Really into werewolves too, and. What was it, like a dog's bed or something that we ended up getting for his bedroom, which he wanted to sleep in because he wanted to be a werewolf and he wanted that to be where he rested. And
so we were in Costco. He's like, oh, I'd love that bed. It was a giant dog's bed. And, he had it in his room for a week and I think he slept in it once and he was like, yeah, I'm over that.
It didn't work.
Being a werewolf is not fun.
It's not really cool. Yeah.
Well, it was just so important to him. And so I think if you can say yes to kids, because when you need to say no, it'll mean so much more. But yeah, I think taking an interest in all those little things that your kids are so passionate about, even though you don't see it as that important, is really vital to a strong relationship with your teenage and adult kids as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. It kind of verifies that the holding the boundary of no and the weight of that. Because I think back to what you said, it does feel easy. I mean, I only have a dog, but it feels very easy to say no to him all the time. So maybe take him out for an extra walk. You've inspired me.
Yeah, be a little nicer.
Yeah, be a little nicer. Okay, maybe you can have a little extra cup of food tonight.
Now, we've got a wide range of kids, right? Because we've got so many. So our youngest is 4, our oldest is 24, and everything in between.
That's crazy.
So quite a gap. So quite a spread. With that being the case, I'm going to ask you a parenting question here. The heart of this is, we want to have a good, solid environment for them to grow up and have a good experience, prepare them for adulthood. What are some things that you've found as a mum that has helped prepare the kids for adulthood and nurtured a healthy space to grow up in?
Do you know, and this has been something that's been a really tough lesson for me, and it's really hard, I think, as parents, but the most important thing you can do is allowing your children to make mistakes and letting them fall a little bit and letting them feel the weight of their decisions when they've made poor decisions. And it's actually the most painful thing as a parent to see your child make a decision that is going to lead them to something that's going to be really hurtful, and not want to, 1, stop them from doing it, but also 2, picking up the pieces when it does happen. That is one thing I find so difficult to do. And I've had to really push myself to say, no, don't fix it. Don't jump in and fix the problem. Let them work it out. Because as a parent, when you see something go wrong in your child's life that you love so much and you care for so much, obviously, young children, you do everything for, but when I'm talking about when they get a little bit older, is allowing them to know how to pick the pieces up of things when they go wrong, because they will go wrong in life. And so if you give them that opportunity to have that self-development where they can have confidence in their own abilities to actually fix the things that have gone wrong, that will go a long way. But it's not easy as a parent. You really want to just fix things for them, and you can't. They need to have a little bit of trial, a little bit of struggle. If life is too easy, then they'll go into adulthood thinking that everyone is there to do things for them, and the world is all about them instead of what else can I give back and give out to the world. And it's hard.
I bet the evolution of that is hard too, because when they're small, it starts so simple, like, they fall and scrape their knee, or they, you see them carry something maybe and they drop it on the floor and you think, oh, well, I saw that happening from a mile away. But as they get older, they start to make, decisions about relationships and people in their life, or maybe, put themselves on a different trajectory. All of your kids are great, but it's probably hard to watch that and kind of take a step back and just know that sometimes you're going to have to let some things unfold.
You have to let them have the autonomy to make those decisions. And even with our younger kids, I'm talking about as young as they could be, I let them make decisions that I wouldn't always make that decision. But if it's something that is really inconsequential, should I say, they want to wear, we have a daughter right now who, our 4-year-old, who just wants to wear Wellington boots every day. And I'm thinking, it's summer, it's 90 degrees outside, but she wants to wear them. Hey, you know what? You can wear them. That's no big thing. I would rather wear some sandals or something cooler, but that's okay. There's all of those little things. If you start that young, letting them have that autonomy, things that really don't make any difference. If they want to wear their onesie when we go out to the movies, they can wear their onesie. And so, but yeah, as they get older, they're going to have to learn what things they can and can't do. And unfortunately, the world is a cruel place, and it will teach them some things, and they're going to have to try and figure those things out as well. But always know that as parents, we are here as a safe space, as a safe haven for them to come to, and we will always be there to comfort and shield as much as we can.
Yeah.
I've used that principle in business as well, in leadership and in coaching others and working with organizations and things. It fosters trust. Yeah. Right? And if you want to build healthy relationships, giving people the space to trust their own decisions, but like Kim said, also be accountable for it, and to be there to guide and to lift them up and to, dust off the bruises and kind of clean them up and help move them forward and what have you. But you can't micromanage people in work, and you can't really micromanage your kids either. It's, that just doesn't lead to healthy relationships.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do you feel like you need to micromanage Ben sometimes, though?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, I do.
She's smiling, but I don't think you're wrong.
I don't think so. I do sometimes think I have 9 children. There we go.
Yeah.
That was my next question, so thank you for answering
really?
it.
9.
So 8, but the gap is really a little bit older than your oldest. So, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I think we're a good tag team when it comes to how we parent. I think we do it quite well.
I think so. Yeah. It seems like such simple advice, but I think you've got to be all in for your kids, for your family. When they understand, no matter what. I reached out to one of my boys the other day and just said, just wanted to share. I'm so proud of what you're doing right now, and love what you and your wife are accomplishing. And he's just become a fireman, right? Which we never thought would ever happen.
That's so awesome.
Right? And here he is, just doing great things. I just sent him a note, just said, just love you guys to pieces, love what you're doing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he just responded, obviously very, kindly, but was like, it really helps knowing that you're always in my corner.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think that's just really important for kids to feel, growing up, that their parents are always in their corner.
Yeah.
And no one's going to love you more than your parent. Yeah. No matter what mistakes you make, no matter what you do, there's nothing that you can do that will stop us loving our kids. There's nothing that they could do. And we will always have their back. Yeah. Even when they make the wrong choice, we'll have their back, So
let me ask a question. So you've just recently graduated with your second degree now. You've just done, you're preparing now to become a marriage and family therapist, starting your master's in a couple of months. With that formal education on family and marriage, what has that taught you? What insights have you gotten from that maybe you haven't gleaned from your experience of the last 25 years of marriage? Anything kind of jump out there?
I think what I've learned the most through my studies is my own bias in lots of areas. And I think as a therapist in training, that's something that's so important to understand, is how you see the world, how I see the world, and how just because I see it one way does not make someone else's point of view invalid in the way that they see the world. So I really have tried to focus on myself as I've studied, although I've learned a lot about the family, the dynamics within family and relationships. And I've loved that. I've loved all the studies that I've been able to be part of and to understand why people do things in the way that they do them. It's fascinating to understand why people do things. I've really just tried to check my own bias and understand why I do things so that I can then relate better to people who are struggling and suffering, so that I can see them for who they are and where they want to be. So I'm not sure that it's changed too much how I've parented, but I think it's just opened my eyes a lot to the rest of the world and how people are just struggling.
Yeah. And how do you feel like you talked about like the reason that people do things? How much of that is the psychology behind it? Is it quite a bit?
It's incredible. So many things can be pinpointed.
Yeah.
I mean, we always go back to childhood, but a lot of things can come back to our childhoods of why we do things the way that we do, or we see things the way that we do. And unfortunately, that is such a impressionable time of life where, as parents, I feel really a lot of pressure to make sure that my children aren't left with trauma from something that I've done and said. Unfortunately, all of us will experience a little bit of trauma as we grow.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way we are. We're all imperfect human beings, even as parents. And so I think every child can look back on their childhood and say, I didn't like how this did. What is wonderful, I think, and I've always found it really cathartic, I have a lot of things about my own childhood that I really didn't like, is raising my family. It's cathartic that I get to fix those things which I didn't agree with or I didn't like. I can kind of implement them as I raise my children in a way that I feel would be better for them. And they might have an opinion on that and go, yeah, absolutely not. We're going to do things differently. But having a family has definitely been cathartic for me in that way.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? Because you get to kind of rewrite the story of how you want it. And then who knows, maybe there's of course going to be some things that your children, reinstate with their families, or maybe they do things differently. But I think that's the interesting
The best thing
part.
I think one of our kids said to us once, he just turned 19, and you know, you don't know how you're getting on as a parent until they're really older. I mean, we know our kids are happy, our little kids, they're happy, but you don't know if all of a sudden they're going to become adults and they'd be like, actually, this is what you just do your best, and that's all you can do. But we had one of our older kids say, as an adult, he said, when I get married and have kids, I want to be parents just like you.
Aww.
And I think, I just remember thinking, okay, I couldn't have heard, that was the best thing I could have heard as a parent, you know?
Yeah, it's the best compliment.
Yeah, just knowing that you in their eyes, it's like you were what I needed, you know? And I think that was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's so sweet. That's the best compliment ever. I think that's like the nicest thing your kids could say to you. And looking back at perspective, because obviously the weight of that, where, you know, if your 4-year-old says that to you, it's like, oh, that's really funny and sweet. But like as they get older, that's so nice of them to say that.
Because those teenage years are hard. Yeah. And you just scrape through them both. As it's hard for the teenager, it's hard for the parent. And they lose that connection a little bit through those years. And that's completely normal to do that as they find themselves. And so as you come out of that, you're like, I hope we've survived, our relationship has survived this. So far, so good. We are 4 down. We have 4 to go. And I think so far we're doing okay with those teenage years, but they're rough.
4 for 8's great. Just keep it trucking. You'll get there eventually.
50% down.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No, I do think that my aspiration, at least, is that the next generation does better than the last.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of our goal. This is where we've come from. We've had our own unique experience. We're at an event, Kim and I, a little while ago, I think it was last year, where it was being explained at this conference we're at, that life is seasonal. And we have a summer, and we have a spring, we have a winter, we have a fall, right? And some people are born into the winter of their lives, and others are born into the summer. I think Kim and I, perhaps, respectively, we're probably born into the winters of our lives. That was just the nature of kind of our start.
So it was just a difficult upbringing,
Yeah. And our kids maybe as a result have been brought up in the summer of their lives, perhaps, right? And well, hopefully there's future summers that lie ahead. But it means that at some point along the way, there's going to be a winter.
Yeah.
But for those going through the winter, that's okay. There's going to be a summer.
Yeah.
It really is quite a seasonal experience that we have with life. And, you know, the goal is to help them understand that is cyclical, you know, and that's okay. Life will have its ups and downs, but it's how we learn to handle that is really, really important.
Sure. And the tools that you give them to handle those seasons, right? Because it's everyone's not afforded the same tools by all of their parents, by their parents to be able to handle those seasons of their life. So I love that. So if marriage and family counseling and therapy and having 8 children isn't enough, you've also had an Instagram following for your account.
Yes.
You have over 30,000 followers. And tell everyone a little more about what you do and why you started it.
So I'm a little bit of a control freak. I guess that's where it started. And, you know, as we've kind of moved a lot, we've moved houses a lot. We would get quotes from builders and contractors to do things. And I'm just so shocked at the cost of some of these things. And in my naive head, I'm like, or ignorant head, I'm like, I think I could have a go at building that built-in bookshelf. And Ben every time would be like, really? Like, really?
Let's not do that.
Yeah, well, that seems like a lot of work.
Let's go get lunch instead.
Get lunch and go call the guys, have them come over.
I never for one moment thought that Ben would be doing it. So I knew that straight off the bat. However, he's a very good carrier. We go to Home Depot and he will carry all of the lumber and he will carry the things.
Underrated job, Ben.
Yes.
Someone's got to do it.
I'm very good at playing with the kids and entertaining
them. I know. So it all works out well. Like I said, it's a good tag team. But no, I was just like, you know what? I hear so many women say, oh, my husband won't do this and he hasn't got time to do this. He wants to, but he hasn't got time. And I'm like, give it a go yourself. I don't understand why. So I'm like, I'm just going to start doing it. And so I just started trying things out and building things. And I'm like, this is actually really fun and it's not as hard. Yeah. And, you know, don't get me wrong. You need to be okay making mistakes. Make mistakes. I tell people all the time, be okay making mistakes. There is nothing that I haven't done yet that I've not been able to fix, and I've made so many mistakes. But I had some women kind of reach out to me individually and say, hey, I saw that you built this. Can you go through all the steps that you do? And when I got to a few people, I was like, this is really time consuming. I can't do it for everyone. So one of my friends suggested, hey, maybe you should just start posting it on Instagram or something. And I was like, oh, that seems like a lot of hassle. But once I started doing it and started to see that other women were feeling empowered to do things from where I was building, I just thought, this is awesome, because I want women to pick up power tools. Don't wait for anyone. Don't wait for a contractor. Don't wait for your husband or your partner. Just pick them up and give it a go and make some mistakes and learn along the way. And you know what? Not everyone will love it doing it. Sure. They might just go, give it a try and go, yeah, I'm over that. And that's okay too. But just give it a go and see. You will save yourself thousands. I think we have literally saved hundreds of thousands in what we've done.
That's incredible.
In the house. And I do love it though. I love the creativity. I'm not naturally a creative person, so this is a great way for me to get my creativity out. And I love the community of women that we have together, where we support one another in building things that, I don't know how many times I've been in Home Depot and I'll get someone with the best intent. I'll be picking up some wood and they'll be like, oh, you've got a little project going on, little
always
project.
Little. It's always little.
I'm like, I'm building a 20-foot deck, but yeah, sure, that's a little project,
What were the 18 gauge nails?
Yeah. And so I think there's still that kind of stereotype, but for the most part, it's great. And I love the fact that more women are feeling empowered to do it, and just getting things done.
Yeah, it's so cool. What about from your perspective, Ben? Has it been so fun to watch Kim grow her following and do all of these projects? I mean, your home is beautiful, and a lot of those projects are a fruit of Kim's labor. Yeah. So how fun is that?
I'm 20 foot on a scaffolding.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was a bit scary.
Yeah. That scaffolding was high. Yeah. It felt a little shaky.
It was.
And I was on the ground feeling very uncomfortable. So, but you were fine. You're having a blast. Yeah, no, from my perspective, I mean, seeing the audience grow, I get really excited about it. I think that's cool, right? And I do frequently encourage her to monetize it more than she has, but you're not that fussed about doing that?
I don't have that much interest in it. I think just because when you monetize it, there's an expectation of what you will and won't do. And I am a busy mother. I have 8 kids. We run different businesses, and I'm obviously my master's degree. So I have a very full life. And if I started to monetize that, then I'd have all these expectations. And I just don't want that. I just want to keep it for fun. I'm doing project by project and just sharing what I'm doing and helping other women if they have any questions. And that's probably where I spend the most time. I get lots of questions about things and I'll share that. But yeah, right now I'm doing it for fun. Fortunately, I can just keep it that way. And yeah.
I think that's what makes your content so fun to watch, though. It comes across really authentic. Yeah. It comes across really like, oh, I'm just showing the girls how to do this project. And it makes it so much more fun to watch. So
I tell people I am not professional and I'm probably doing this the wrong way, but let's see if it works. And I'll be the guinea pig and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, and I love that. I love that I can do that. And I can be very authentic. I don't have any brands telling me what I should say.
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone's doing at home anyway. Everyone's at home trying to figure them out. You're just doing it online for everyone to see. So who cares if it's the right or wrong way? Obviously, if it's dangerous, that's a different story. Sure. And I mean, you've talked a little bit about that, but
yeah, there's one thing that I like though that has really impressed me in this journey that Kim's been on is her willingness to just give anything a go and be willing to fail in the process. Because I've heard you mention that a lot, right? Yeah. Where, hey, be willing to make mistakes. That's okay. I've made mistakes in every project that I've done, but you can fix it. You can move on. You learn from it. And I just think that is a great life lesson that I like seeing our kids learning through observation.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it is funny, just as a side note, is the kids now think that their mum can build anything. And I think this is really setting up a false expectation for when they get married, because we've got 6 boys and 2 girls, that most of our boys are going to just think their wives can do it all. That may not be the deal.
14-year-old, and just recently he's asked me to redo his bedroom, so I did it a few years ago, these built-in bunk beds. And so I just ripped it all down. I was like, hey, get me like a vision board of what you'd like. And he came up with the most crazy outlandish design. I'm like, I love the fact that you think I could do this, but I can't do this. But I appreciate the fact that you think I can. And so and that's where the name of the channel came from when we were coming up with it. It was like, what should we call it? And I didn't want anything too professional, but it was like, they were like, can you call it like Mum Can Build It? And I was like, that was taken as a, so I said, what about Mama? And they were like, yeah, Mama can build it. Mama, you can build everything. And that's what they say now. They just think I can build anything and I can't. But I love the fact that they think I can.
I mean, that's empowering. Your kids just think their expectation of you is just limitless. You can just do everything.
It's funny now, though. In the beginning, when I'd say I'm going to do this, I'm like, oh, no. Do we have to? Can we just get someone in? Or I'd say I'm going to do this project. Like, can you do that? Like, can you? And he'd always have this pushback. And now there is no pushback. I'll just say, so I'm going to be building this. He's like, okay, are we going to Home Depot? What are we getting?
That's date night, by the way.
He doesn't even question it anymore.
Let's go to Home Depot. Awesome.
Let's go get some cement or something.
Ben and I commiserate sometimes because we've been remodeling our house, but my husband does all the projects in our house, and Home Depot is date night for us too. Yeah. Occasionally we'll go to Lowe's, and I'm like, this place is a dump. Let's go back to Home Depot. It's so much better. And why is there nobody ever there? There's no one ever at Lowe's. It's so interesting.
I won't go to Lowe's anymore. The saw is never working for them to cut the wood for you. So that's my
Lowe's.
experience.
If you need Kim's help, let her know. She'll help you out. She'll get the right people in your store.
Yeah. So this is an interesting transition. Well, a question that I want to ask is, a lot of the time people say to both of us, we've gotten this, repeatedly, you got so many kids, how do you do it all? Right. And I think this is an important topic to discuss, not in the sense of 8 kids is demanding, but in reality, what can people handle and what can't they handle? What is good? Because on top of having 8 kids, like you said, you've been studying, getting another degree, you're going into your master's soon, multiple businesses that we've run, doing your DIY projects, which is fun to show online. But the reality behind that, as much as it's cool what you're doing, is in order to manage the algorithm, content needs to be pushed out every day.
Yeah.
So as soon as Kim finished, what used to happen before she had her channel was Kim would do a project and then there'd be a space between the next one. Whereas now it's kind of out, we finish this one, on you go to the next, and then on to the next.
And so now she's redoing bedrooms because she's running out of projects.
Yeah, I know.
I think the key to that is, how do you manage it all? You don't. You've got to be realistic. Really So this is really important. Yeah. And the way that we live is not for everyone.
Yeah.
We can manage it well, and that's okay, but it's not for everyone. And that doesn't mean that we're stronger or with it. It just means that we like to live very full lives, and that works for us. But it doesn't mean you can't live a full life doing other things with 2 children. And so that's what I say it's not for everyone, but also there's no such thing as doing it all. And I feel quite passionately about this, especially towards women, where women are told you can do it all. I think women can be it all, but I think it's unfair in society today where they expect so much from women to do it all. They say you can have the family, you can have the career, you can have everything, and I just think that's a false notion that is being told to women, where they're expected to come home, do all the housework, look after the kids, go out to work. The husbands aren't necessarily getting that involved in the home, and I think that's really unfair. So I do have a little bit of a thing about that. I think it's unfair to expect that women can do everything. They can do anything, but they can't do everything. And so,
I would hasten to add, same with men.
Same with men.
Men can't do, can't have it all.
Yeah.
There is always a trade-off.
When I'm in mid-project, our house will always be an absolute mess. Like, I'm talking about mega mess. And I will show that to my followers too.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, when you're doing a project, don't expect something has to give.
Yeah.
And it's never, one thing that will never give is my family. It will never give. But when I'm doing a project, the housework goes, my laundry goes, we're eating out most nights. And that's what has to give. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. But you can't do everything. And anyone that tells you that you can is not being honest. I think so. Something has to give, and so choose what is most important to you. And sometimes it's a seasonal thing. Like if I'm spending 2 weeks on a project, I'm just like, hey, the laundry's not going to be done for a long time, so let's just get I'll do what I can. But just gentle with yourself and saying, I'll do what I can, but I can't do everything.
Yeah. Giving yourself grace is huge, but also giving just your family unit and your community grace as well, too. Because I imagine that comes with the dichotomy of you saying, hey, Ben, like, I'm going to be doing some projects. I know you're going to have to like pick up some slack, too. That's just relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, what's interesting is, so Kim studied business and finance and therapy and what have you. I studied English. Right? So I'm going to little English lesson for just a second, right? So the
what page are we on and what chapter, Ben?
So the word priorities as a plural came into the English language only a couple hundred years ago. Right? Originally, because the word priority means the first or prior thing. Right? So technically speaking, priorities shouldn't exist.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? You don't, if it's the first or prior thing, I don't go 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? The first prior thing is number 1. So priorities is actually a falsehood.
Correct.
It's incorrect.
That's wild.
Right?
I've never thought about that, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
how could you have more than one?
How can you have more than one? It's a priority, right? The first or prior thing. And the challenge that a lot of people face, especially as the world is getting more demanding, and we're certainly seeing this with the rising generation, with social media, digital tools, and just the digital world that we live in, means everything is on and available 24/7.
Yes.
Right? And so that makes life way more demanding. And certainly with all the technology, it means great, we can work from home. That means you can work around the clock, right? And we do a little bit of that, right? And so the challenge for most people is, how do I prioritize my life? What is most important? We can identify the things that we consider significant and valuable, but then when it comes down to prioritizing, that's where people struggle. And so to Kim's point, I just want to kind of emphasize this. Saying you can't be it all is a message of grace, right? And assurance.
Yeah.
Because too many times people are trying to prioritize everything. I need to be 100% here in this capacity, and I need to be 100% there in that capacity.
And you just can't.
And what happens? People break in the middle, right? And so to your point, when you were saying, that's where relationships come in. And you're, okay, when Kim says, I'm working on this project, the house is going to be a little bit messier.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, I'm going to pick up over here, and I've got the kids more, and you're handling this. We will express grace in the tidiness of the house. And when people come to visit, welcome to our mess.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll be okay with that. And so we do need to extend grace and flexibility with each other as we balance, because priorities shift. I saw someone gave an example to me once years ago, which really helped, which was life is like a horse race, right? And each role that you play in life is like a different horse. And the goal, sometimes one horse will race way ahead of the others, and your goal is to maybe bring the one that's lagging behind, back up to speed and kind of bring it up. And there's constantly this toing and froing of one racing out and ahead in front of the other. And our task is to see what's most important now and devote the appropriate attention to it.
Yeah.
But trying to do everything all at the same time is really unfair, I think, as a message.
Yeah, it's
unfair to you and everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to choose, like that. Sometimes it's today I'm choosing this, and sometimes it's something else, because, I obviously my family is, that the quote, never let the things that matter most be at the mercy of the things that matter least. I try and live that, but some days it's not going to be a day where it's like, this is where I'm spending all my time with my kids. Some days it's like, I need today for me to have this outlet of creativity, and because I have that established relationship with my husband and my kids, I can do that. So it doesn't have any kind of problematic effect. But I think seeing what's important for today is a really good way of looking at it and saying, this is where I'm going to spend my time on today.
Yeah.
Because in seasons of life, that might be different things.
Yeah. I used to work with this gal, and she used a cookie as an analogy for just our time. And she told the story about how at the beginning of the day, beginning of each day, sometimes you start as a whole cookie. Sometimes you start as, bits and pieces of this cookie, but regardless, every person and everything takes a proverbial bite out of you as you go on.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you have crumbs, and then the crumbs are what you give to your family. And so you sit there, and at the end of the day, after all of this work, after all of these conversations that you've had, the crumbs is what everyone in your family gets at, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And so she started this thing where she'd text us, everyone on the team. She'd text us at like 5:30, and she would just say crumbs. And it started as kind of like a joke, like, haha. But then it just became something I think about all the time of like, I don't have children yet, but I don't want to give my husband the crumbs of me at the end of the day. It just seems so, it's such a silly analogy, but it's interesting when you think about it.
I think it's a perfect analogy, especially when it's often the people closest to us that will get
the crumbs.
Crumbs. It won't be, in the workplace, it'll usually be those people who we feel that we have such a relationship with that they can give a little. But over time, if that keeps continuing, that's where the breakdown of families begin, and it's hard because we have so much pressures on us as a society. We run so fast at everything.
I think what's really important, this was highlighted to me yesterday, this example. So I had a challenging day with some work issues, super busy. I finished my working day. I go into the living room or outside, and our 4-year-old loves to play, right? And she's always, play with me, daddy, right? She always wants to play. And I just had so much on my mind. I was like, I can't think straight right now. Right now, I just need some quiet, right? And so I kind of directed her off to one of her brothers. Go play with your brother right now. And then she'd come back, play with me, daddy. And she'd have her little toy and she'd want to play. And then I just took myself out of the situation almost to a third person looking in. And just thought, what are you witnessing here? Be present. Right. And so I think the challenge in giving the crumbs, which we often give, is we're not fully present when we show up in those relationships. Right. So we will do the things, but we won't really be there with the person. And I think that's what crumbs looks like.
Well, you could be sat there together on your phones.
And not be present. So I kind of jumped back into that moment. Played with her, and was like, and rather than doing it to stop her asking, I did it to play with her and to be with her and enjoy the moment. And I was like, you know what? Life is awesome.
And it just seems so insignificant after that point too.
And kids are such a wonderful mirror for that, because they will, like our kids, we can't be on that. If they want our attention, they will say, are you watching? They want eye contact. And that's really important. That eye contact is so important, especially for little kids. That tells them that I'm fully engaged with you right now. I just took the kids just a couple of hours ago to a play center, and she wanted to go down the slide, but she wanted me to watch her go all the way down the slide over and over again. And I couldn't look away. She's like, are you watching? It's really important for them to know that you're watching and taking that time to really engage with what they're doing, and that eye contact, even between spouses, is just so important. You need to get off our phones, look down and look up, and have that connection.
Well, let's, as we're coming to the end of our time here, I want to kind of come full circle. At the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how community, connectedness, togetherness, relationships just foster good health, both mentally, emotionally, physically, and extend our life here on earth, right? So with that being said, we've talked a lot about family relationships and being parents, juggling different things, prioritizing, that type of stuff. As you look back at your life, or as you look at it now, help us understand from your perspective, what has family done to you for purpose and meaning in your life? Just let's talk about that for a second.
I think if there was any role that I value more than anything, it's that of wife and mother, which isn't societal norms nowadays, and I'm so glad that we, even as in academic, scholarly kind of things that is going on right now, they still see the value of the family. I think there's often a lot of pressure on the world to kind of break it apart and let's just do what we want to do as individuals. And I'm so glad that all of the research is no, evidence is showing family core is where it's at. When you belong to a family, everything will be better in your life, your mental, physical, social, emotional well-being. If you live in a healthy family structure, is going to be so much better off. And so for me, like I said before, having an upbringing that I didn't always have in control of, it's been really therapeutic for me in our family to kind of make sure that all of the most important things are being taken care of. The children, our relationship, that the children see our relationship and how strong it is. I think that's really important too. And I wouldn't change anything. I really wouldn't look back. There's been lots of wonderful times, some hard times, but I wouldn't change anything because I think we've grown, our children have grown. We're a very strong knit family, very bonded together. And I'm so grateful for that, both for the experience that we've had and the experience as we go into grandparenthood, as we've just started, and what that brings into our lives. It's just so fulfilling. And I'm really grateful for all of it.
Yeah,
that's so great.
We had a member of staff at work. Brian just had a baby.
Yeah.
And I congratulated him last night because his little baby arrived yesterday, and so he messaged me. He said, "Hey, any advice for one of these new guys starting out?" Which was really, really kind. And I said, "Best advice that I can give is if you want to be a great dad, love their mother." Yeah, I think that's the most important example that you can set is love the mother. Yeah, and I think as we look at this, life it's interesting looking back at where we've come from to where we are. I think the best value that we can get comes from something my mum taught me when I was a little kid. She's like, when we die and go into the next life, there's only two things that you can take: love and knowledge, right? And so bring as much of that with you as you can, and spend as much of your life acquiring those two things as you can. And I think that's where wisdom really comes in, is focusing on, if there's going to be a priority, what are the priorities in our life, or the single most important thing? It's our relationships.
Absolutely.
And the knowledge of how to nurture and look after them well. Be present. Don't just give them, in your language, the crumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's worth too much, I think.
It is. I agree.
Yeah.
And invaluable. You can't replace it. So
yeah.
The important things in life.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We've come to the conclusion of a great conversation. Thank you, Kim, for being with us. And
yes, thank you so much for joining us. And where can they find you to follow along with all of your DIY
my DIY
tips?
channel? Okay, so on Instagram, it's mama, MAMA _can build it. That's on my Instagram. I do have a TikTok as well, mama _can build it. But yeah, if you want to come and learn how not to do some things, that's a wonderful place to be. But I will make all the mistakes so you don't have to.
Kim is the best. You got to follow along. We'll link all of her channels in the show notes. So thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.